All right, you guys. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for sticking around. Some of you have been here earlier. We've got some new faces in the crowd as well. Welcome back to Let's Talk About Health. This is a very different version of the Channel 5 show that you might be watching at this point in time. If you're around Heartbeat at Bedok, please come and join us. You can stand outside, doesn't matter. You can come in and sit as well. We're talking about skin here today. And skin problems really affect us so much, especially here in our climate. 好热哦, very hot right now, and a lot of humidity might give rise to a lot of sensitivity in your skin and all that as well. So if you're around Heartbeat at Bedok, you can hear me, but you're not sure where we are. We're in between Burger King and Mike Kampong. It's at the atrium area. Please come down, sit down, join us. We have some prizes later on as well that will be given away by two lovely ladies that you'll meet later on. But for now, I've actually got a special guest here with me to tell us how to care for your dry, sensitive skin. Also, if you have any questions, I think this is like the free consultation we're talking about as well. So to understand a little bit more about this, can we please give a round of applause to Associate Professor Tay. Thanks for joining us here today. So, Professor Tay, I understand that you don't always come out to the public and do these talks, and also we're very honored to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's get started. I just wanted to know, what are some very common skin issues you see at your clinic?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Hong Liang. Any questions in not just in English but in Mandarin, in dialect, it's okay. You can just post to me the problems you face. And yeah, to answer Sonia's question about the common skin diseases we see, a lot of times we have patients coming with the problem of eczema. And eczema very often is not just about the red, angry rash that you see, but in the beginning you get itchiness, you get dryness, you get just mild red patches on the skin. And then if you don't take care of it, it will actually progress slowly to inflamed skin, which is actually angry, red, itchy, oozy. So you don't want to get to that stage. So this is the most common condition we see. And the other skin problems, everybody got skin problems, but the very common ones for the younger age group will be acne problem.
You mentioned, eczema is a very, very common skin issue here in Singapore, and I think it is more common than we think, right? A lot of people may not even be seeking proper treatment for it. So I guess my next question is, if you scratch your skin when you find that there's itches and all that, how does that harm your skin even more?
Yeah, when you scratch your skin, it actually breaks the skin barrier even more. When you break your skin, the external elements in the environment can actually get into the broken skin. And that causes inflammation, and it becomes a vicious cycle, becoming a red, angry patch. So therefore, breaking your skin by scratching is the first thing that you must not do. But of course, we cannot tell people, okay, you don't scratch, it's itchy, right? I mean, you have to relieve it. And so that's where we look at patient's problem and try to come out with new solutions to solve them. And therefore, we came out with itch relieving moisturizing cream for this purpose. And I tell my patients, every time you have itchiness, don't scratch, just apply that over a wide area and then let it slowly calm down.
I think it's easier said than done, right? Sometimes even if you got a mosquito bite, it's like, don't scratch it, but you scratch it anyway. But that's very good advice, because you want to calm it down with the right products. And speaking of which, we have some products for you later on, so please stick around. And if you answer some questions, you will probably walk away with some of these itch-relieving products as well. That's very good for your skin. Okay, so when it flares up, when it itches and when it's, very uncomfortable and stuff, is it more advisable to use a hot or a cold compress? Is my next question.
Yeah. So in general, compress, what Sonia is referring to is actually putting water onto a dressing, a cloth, and putting onto that skin, the part of the skin that's inflamed. So that has a calming property that actually reduces the inflammation gradually. So using cold will generally be better than using hot water because heat itself actually causes more damage to the skin surface, and you don't want to have these extreme temperatures to damage the top skin layer even more.
Yeah, so I think a lot of us, how many of you take hot showers? Hot showers? Nobody? Oh, only you guys. And the lady at the back. Okay. So very few people take hot showers. That's a good thing, right? Because our weather is already so warm here in Singapore. So what kind of medications would you usually advise to apply, for example? What kind of creams out there can help?
Yeah, just allow me to just touch on the hot water bathing part. I think,
okay, please. Yes,
yeah,
please.
I think it's a very kind of common thing. So using hot water to bathe, many people actually experience itch before or after bathing, and this is worse if you use hot water. So when there is a change in temperature, there can actually be stimulation of itchiness, and so that's why a lot of people actually have this symptom, but we don't exactly, doctors don't exactly know why it happens. So it does happen, but if you use not so hot water, that will be better, not just for the symptom, but also for not drying up, not damaging the skin. Yeah. So I'll go on to Sonia, your second question about using what products, what type of creams to use.
Sure.
Yeah, when you get all these problems. So when you just have most commonly just dryness, and of course that's moisturizers. And moisturizers, there's many different kinds, what to choose. The first thing is to see your tolerance level to the oiliness level of it. If you are somebody who cannot tolerate oiliness, then you should choose something that is more lotion, more watery based. So hydrating your skin, moisturizing your skin is the basic to prevent dryness, to repair the damage to the skin surface. So that's the first part. The second part is about itch relieving. If you have itchiness at the same time, then a product that contains anti-itch ingredients that you apply every time you feel itchy, that will help you relieve your itch and stop you from wanting to scratch. And then if there are redness, angry red patches that comes around, for that later stage, then you need anti-inflammatory products. So anti-inflammatory products typically comes in the form of medications. You sometimes have to see a doctor for that kind of medicine, but subsequently the doctor can advise you how to get these products in the retail pharmacies.
So it's a very treatable condition. I mean, it's, just go and get it treated and get it done, then living with it, right? I think that's the very important thing. By the way, if you have any questions along the way, please let us know. Raise your hands up. Like I said, we're so privileged to have our medical professionals come and join us in the Heartlands as well. It's not every day that this happens. So later on, I'll open up the floor for questions. If you have any questions, I don't think there's any stupid question. So we would love to answer any of your questions. Even if you're watching us on the live stream right now, there is a QR code for you to scan. And we've actually got our team that's keeping a lookout for that as well. So we will be asking Doctor those questions too. Make sure you scan the QR code and enter your questions in. We would love to see those. Okay, so you were mentioning about the treatments for eczema and all that earlier on. Maybe you can let us know, in terms of prevention, why is it so important to keep our skin moisturized? Even though we're in such a humid environment, it's still important to moisturize, right? Why is that such an important thing for skin health?
So I think we must realize that not all parts of our skin is equally hydrated, equally dry. So for example, as we get older, our shins or certain parts of the skin like the limbs, this actually becomes drier and drier. And especially if we use products that actually damages the skin surface from our daily use of washing things with our hands, cleaning, and using hand sanitizers many times. So you can imagine so much of insult happening to the skin, and this can cause skin dryness. And so we must take care of our skin just as we take care of our body, like how we check and prevent high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that. We must also adopt good skin care for our areas of skin, especially those parts that are getting drier as we get older.
So you're saying it gets drier as you get older. So age is a factor when it comes to some skin conditions?
Yes, and also like diabetes, these are common conditions that actually can promote skin dryness. Yeah.
So are you saying that perhaps certain skin conditions could be an indication that there's other things possibly wrong with us?
Yeah, so fortunately, primarily the skin conditions are actually limited to the skin. but they can be worsened with certain conditions. Just for example, like I mentioned, diabetes can actually cause the skin to get drier and drier. Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's something interesting to note as well, right? Because we just think like, oh, it's an itch, it will go away, and most of us just hope for it to go away as well. So if we have sensitive skin in general, and we also have eczema problems, I mean, those two come hand in hand, right? Usually if you have eczema, it means you have sensitive skin, is that right?
Yes, I think sensitive skin comes before the eczema. So when we have sensitive skin, we react to many of these external agents, external products, and then if we don't take care, it becomes red, itchy, oozy, and that's when eczema starts happening.
So I'm going to pause right now. Anyone in the audience has a question for Doctor before I continue asking the questions? Anyone? Yes, you have a question. Can we get a microphone to the gentleman, please? Over there, yeah.
My question is there any food products that to prevent or avoid eczema? My grandson is having eczema, and then is born, I think it's inherited from parents. So is there anything that we can avoid to prevent this from worse?
That's a good one, yeah.
Yes, I think it's a very common question in the Asian society. So in general, I ask patients, okay, so if you avoid all this food, does it make a difference? If you take this food, does it actually worsen it? So in general, we don't have very good scientific evidence for food actually causing eczema. But certainly when you take certain food, it can worsen the itch. So for example, if you take spicy food or alcohol, this can actually worsen the itch itself. But many people wonder, oh, seafood, so I must avoid seafood, all this. So, my question is always that, does it really help you in your case? If you avoid, does it really bring you relief? And avoiding seafood is not such a bad idea either because it's lower down your cholesterol. So I don't see any harm doing that, but the short answer is that we don't have scientific evidence to show a direct relationship between food and eczema per se. There is food allergy, which is actually a different condition where you take the food and your gut develop problem, you develop hives. Those are actually a different condition compared to eczema.
Okay, so I'm just going to follow up on this gentleman's question. He also asked, is there any other food that can help alleviate the itch or anything at all, or no?
Yes. So in general, it's just like taking care of your body, your health, your immune system. So you have to have a healthy immune system in order not to overreact to anything that comes into your skin. So by keeping yourself healthy with antioxidants, and antioxidants come in terms of vitamins, supplement, by doing exercise, by sleeping right, all these actually helps with your immune system, and you therefore do not react so too much to certain things, and therefore you don't get all this flare of eczema rashes so much.
Thank you. Hope that answered your question. Do you have any other follow-up questions for Doctor? Okay. Anyone else in the audience has any other additional questions before we move on? Not at this point. You have one question? Oh, 华语的，可以，华语可以。Would you like to maybe give her the mic? Or
我有朋友，他80多岁了，他很痒，很多年了，他看很多西医都不会好，他现在看中医只有前天看中医而已
对。
你可以讲华语刚才那些重复什么可以吃？榴莲可以吃吗？不可以吃吗？榴莲可以呀。
Okay, I think to translate very quickly, she's talking about a friend who is 80 plus years old who is itchy everywhere.
Yes,
right?
That's
Okay.
Right, that's right. Yeah. So I was replying in English first. Yeah. So I think yes, this is another important issue. So by using creams, anti-itch relieving moisturizing cream, as I mentioned just now, sometimes may not be sufficient to actually control the itchiness. And so therefore, you actually need to take tablets, and these are very safe antihistamine tablets. Definitely, doctors won't want to give you anything that is more dangerous, that you actually can get side effects. So these antihistamines are actually very safe. And a common problem is that when doctors give these antihistamines, many patients just take it when it's itchy. But that is a bit too late. And so when it itch, they scratch, and that's too late. And before the effect of the medicine can work, they already scratch their skin out. And so you can see the vicious cycle going. So what should be done is to use all these safe antihistamines to take it regularly before the timings when you are going to have itchiness. So many patients actually have itchiness in the evening, at night, when you sleep, and that's what actually troubles you, wake you up, don't give you a good night's sleep, and mess up with your life. So what many patients should do is actually to take these antihistamines regularly, every night before you sleep, and then when things are better, then you slowly cut them down a bit by a bit. And while you're still taking the antihistamine, you can actually apply the anti-itch moisturizing cream whenever some itch occurs. And as time goes by, your requirement for these tablets becomes lesser and lesser, and you use more of the cream, and therefore you can actually control the condition yourself without seeing a doctor.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. 需要华语吗？ OK OK， 等一下你可以跟他讲话。OK， 等一下他会跟你讲话。So I think, you know, if you have any questions in Mandarin, doctor can answer that as well. But if you have any additional questions later, we can also address those. But I wanted to touch on that. So you said sometimes the itchiness comes like in the middle of the night or at certain times of the day. Is there a reason for that? Or is it aircon? Should we sleep without aircon? What are some of these issues?
Yes, so I think one of the common cause for itchiness is actually hotness. Okay, when people are we're going to sweat. Okay, then they start having this itchiness, this prickly sensation in the skin. But sometimes when you sweat it out, then it is actually okay after that. So heat is one important factor, and so you see that during the middle of the year, when it's June, July period, when it's hot, and people start having these problems. And then shower, before and after shower, that happens. And at night also. So very often it relates to a change in the temperature. Yeah. So it's not like everybody gets relief when you actually go into the cool environment. Most people do. But certain people also don't get the relief. So when they get a change in the temperature, they start having this itchiness.
Okay, so temperature change, and there's no difference whether we sleep in aircon or not.
Yes,
there is.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Some people actually cannot sleep much better in the aircon condition. They cannot sleep in a hot place, and they get a lot of issues. So I think it's all right to actually try to keep yourself cool, but being in aircon for too long, like day and night, being in an aircon place is not a very good idea also, because the humidity is very low in aircon place, and that it can actually dry up the skin also. So you remember that you must also moisturize when you stay in the aircon place for too long.
So I have a follow-up question from earlier as well. You know, we mentioned that it could be a hereditary thing, eczema, and certain skin conditions. It could be hereditary, right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So if, for example, there's a young person, a very young kid who has eczema from a young age, there's a high possibility that he or she might have to live with it for a long time? Is it something manageable, or will it go away completely at some point?
Yes. So in general, about 10 to 20% of our Singapore population, kids have eczema. So young kids, 10 to 20%. But when they become adult, 20 years old, going to NS, this prevalence rate, right, it has come down to 10%. So actually about half of them actually got over the eczema. So it can be gotten over, and along with time, it can actually also get better. So many patients actually, when they have eczema when they're young, they don't have the problem after that. So the key is actually controlling this eczema when it happens, so that it doesn't aggravate, perpetuate, and becomes uncontrollable.
Can anxiety and stress aggravate eczema as well?
Yes, certainly stress, anxiety, all these actually worsens the feeling of itch, and also your immune system actually get a bit haywire when all these things happen. So therefore, everything actually got worse.
Right, so everything links back to your immune system technically, right? You just got to keep your immunity up as well. By the way, once again, just addressing our audience at home watching this live stream, you can scan the QR code to ask any questions that you have, and we will ask Doctor as well along the way. And likewise with our audience in person, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask, okay? And at any one time, should you have other follow-up questions, I think Doctor will be so kind as to try and follow up after our session too. Okay, so my next question is, for a hot and humid climate like here in Singapore, right? You can't have two extremes. Like you can't always be in a humid environment, because when we go to a very dry and cold country, now that travel is back, how do we then manage our flare-ups? Because our climate is so different from when we go to Europe or the US. The air is so dry there. What do we need to bring with us if we were to be traveling soon?
Yes, certainly. If you go to these cold, dry areas, especially when there's high wind factor, strong wind also blowing directly on your skin, all these can actually damage the skin surface. And you will notice after 1 week you're there that your skin gets drier and drier. And if you go to places like Australia where it's extremely dry, you start getting itchiness pretty soon. So therefore, before you go, please get ready. Bring along moisturizers, especially those with itch relieving properties. Bring along with you, and you will probably need it if you stay longer than 1 week in these places.
Yeah, because I noticed, some of my family members have a history of skin issues and eczema as well, and it flares up every time we travel to a dry, cold country, and it becomes a little bit of a burden, right, for a lot of us as well. Okay, do you have any other skincare tips for us in regards to that before we move on to hopefully more audience questions?
Yes. Just to add on, moisturizers, what I mentioned, but also another factor is that we want to reduce damage to the skin through using the use of gentle soap. So especially when you go to hotels, all this, they're not going to give you very gentle soap, all this, and then when you wash and it dries up your skin even further. So in general, we try to use gentle soap that actually reduce the stripping away of the what we call the lipids or the fat on the skin surface area. So because these are actually our moisturizing ingredient on our skin surface. So if we use very harsh, strong soap, those that will kill all the bacteria kind, it is actually quite harsh to the skin. So what we need is not to kill all the bacteria, but rather to have a gentle cleansing effect that doesn't strip our skin away with too much of all these moisturizing ingredients, and to keep it moisturized. So you check out your soap, make sure that they are stays gentle, moisturizing, and when you use it, you don't get a sensation of dryness after you use. Especially when you have to wash your hands so often nowadays, please use gentle soap.
Can a person who has eczema also develop acne problems, by the way? Just curious to know.
Yes. So different parts of our body have different problems. So acne is actually the problem of blocking of the hair follicles, and with a lot of oil production and the protein on our skin, it forms a plug that actually plugs the hair follicle, and therefore you get acne. Now, this happens on the face because our face is oily. But on other parts of our body, where it is not so oily, it can actually be dry. And there you get eczema. Like for example, on your arms and legs. And then on your face, you get acne. So this is a teenager's problem, yeah.
That, I couldn't have put it better myself. I think like as teenagers, we go through so much, right? And I think I can see in the audience as well, we've got some parents, grandparents in the audience that might be concerned about that, because problems like acne could be very crippling for your confidence as well. I'm just going to touch on that for a little bit, since there's a bit of crossover as well. How often now do you see acne-related issues here in Singapore?
Yes, I think it's still as common as before. I think our climate definitely contributes to it because of the high humidity, and therefore we don't get evaporation or sweat so easily, and the oil production also because it sort of get trapped, and so therefore we form all these plugs that I mentioned just now. So the acne problem has actually been quite stable and quite constant. We don't see an increasing problem.
And any other skin conditions that you see in your clinic that's worth mentioning to our audience here today? Maybe lesser known, skin conditions or problems that people might dismiss and not see a doctor for? Anything that you would like to address?
Not immediately, maybe I let the audience raise up their
Okay,
questions.
sure. All right. Any questions from our audience members here today? Anything at all about skin? Yes, the lady in the front. Can we get a mic to her, please?
我想问一下，喝水有没有帮助到我们的皮肤？
Hey.
Yes.
I think she's asking, does drinking more water help clear up skin problems? Is that what you heard?
It helps
Yeah.
with the hydration of the skin. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So in general, drinking water unfortunately doesn't really trickle down to the skin surface. What actually causes the hydration of our skin actually is two components, both the water and the lipids, which is the fat. So you need actually both. Now, when we drink water, yes, it does supply the underlying tissue, but a lot of times it is more affected by the external environment because it's so close to the external environment. So you want to supplement water, you supplement it directly rather than indirectly by drinking. Yeah, so you drink, you don't actually help with the hydration of the skin. Doesn't help to moisturize the skin. Yeah. So,
Okay. I see you drink a lot of water. That's good though. I think drinking lots of water in general is good for you, right? We have to stay hydrated, especially in weather like this. Okay, we actually do have one more question from this guy right here. Yeah? Okay, let's get a mic to him. Thank you.
When I was young, I had keloids. So they were saying that because I'm lazy to eat fruits and vegetables, so does it mean that if I eat more, then the keloids will go away, or how do you treat it? Because I do not want to inject steroids into my scars.
Yes, okay, yeah, this keloid, just to let everybody know, is actually a bad scar. In fact, it is in the original word in Latin, and then in Chinese translation, it's described as a crab-like scar, crab-like condition. That means it is like a crab that actually holds onto your skin, that protuberance is elevated. So the standard treatment is actually injecting the steroid into the skin, not the body, but on the skin alone. So that has been the traditional best treatment, safest treatment so far. But we do understand certain patients have concern, especially patients who cannot tolerate injection into the skin. And so that's where another part of my job comes in, not just to see patients, but also that we must understand the patient's problem and come up with different solutions for patients who do not get benefit out of the normal treatment. So what we have been doing is actually, instead of injecting into the patient, we administer medicine through the microneedles, which is actually painless, almost painless for patients, where you can actually apply it yourself and then you don't need to receive the injection. So these are for patients who cannot tolerate the injection. Now, is there other medications besides steroids that are very helpful? Unfortunately, at this point in time, not really. So what we are currently doing and doing a clinical trial is actually using something else to actually prevent the development of these scars, bad scars in the first place, going a bit upstream. And you know that your mRNA vaccine, all this kind of thing, the mRNA part is now the new technology, and this is what we are using to actually try to prevent these scars from formation. So the short answer is, we are actually, there's not many options still, but if you face certain problems in particular, we can try to address that. Yeah.
Thank you for your question, actually. I just wanted to ask just a quick follow-up before the gentleman at the back. What are some other causes of keloids? Because, it develops and sometimes we just don't know what to do about them, right? So what are some common causes for keloids?
Yes, so I think the first thing is that before you go for a surgery, there are two factors to consider. Number one, did you get bad scarring previously? So if you have history of that, and maybe your family have a history of that, then you are at increased risk of forming bad scars. Number two is where you're going to have the surgery. So if you're going to have it on certain locations like our shoulder, our back, our jawline, our chest. So these are the very keloid-prone areas where the scar tends to be worse compared to when you have surgery, like say on your tummy, on your legs. So these are not so bad. So these are the two main conditions. And when after you go for surgery, please make sure you take care of the wound. Because if you stretch the wound, traumatize the wound, don't take care of the wound, then all this bad scarring can occur.
Scar tissue and stuff like that, is it? I'm not sure. Am I using the right terms?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
scar
yes.
tissue.
Yes.
All right, the gentleman at the back has a question. Let's get the mic to him.
Hi. Back to your earlier question about consuming water to hydrate the skin. So did you say that you can spray water on instead?
Okay, now apply water, but as I mentioned just now that the top surface of the skin is actually comprised of two components. One is water, one is lipid. So actually if you just spray water, just use water on the skin, it is not good because it's too much water. And in fact, it spoils the surface of the skin. And many of us would have experienced if we have contact with water for too long, actually it makes our skin bad. And then this water is basically too much of water. So we actually need a mixture of water and oil to actually hydrate the skin, to let the water be able to go into the skin. And so that's where the moisturizers come in. Moisturizers in terms of the creams, it comes actually of two basic components, water and oil, and that is the function.
Okay, yeah, that was an interesting question because I think there's a lot of like water sprays and stuff like that out there in the beauty market. Do those help? Like spraying water on your face is the similar question, right?
Yes. So scientifically, I would say no, because it actually worsens the skin barrier. Yeah.
Oh.
If it's just pure water. Yeah.
Right, right.
Of course, if you have spray with other ingredients
Minerals.
like lipids, that's a different situation. Yeah, where you can actually help hydrate.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that as well. Thank you. Any other? Yes, we're actually accepting questions. Maybe this lady over there. She's standing up. And then the lady in the green t-shirt. Oh, and then the lady in the red t-shirt after. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, doctor. I'm actually a patient with this Singapore Skin Center because I have a very bad eczema for many, many years. And recently I have a flare-up on my face which caused a lot of red and itchiness. And I realized that every time I went back to the hospital, they would give me steroid. And it will ease my itch for probably a few days. But when it come back again, it's worse than the first one. And eventually I stopped going to the skin center because every time I go back, they still give me the same steroid again and again. And the dosage seems to be more and more. And it caused my skin to break, become very thin, and it breaks easily. And for my face, it gets really bad. Yeah, so is there any way to quickly cool down this situation, which I'm actually having now also?
Yes, okay. Yeah, so I think there's two components here. First is acute treatment, immediate treatment to calm down the inflammation. Inflammation is something like a house on fire. We have to douse water on it to actually cool it down. So there are different ways to reduce the inflammation, and steroids are actually the most fastest and most effective, strongest compared to the other types. And so therefore this is commonly used because they are actually much cheaper. The other types are actually very expensive, so not everybody would like to use that. So I think the key is that when there is actually a strong inflammation, we have to reduce it fast. But as we reduce it, as the fire gets smaller and smaller, we use less and less of this anti-inflammatory agent. So that means to say initially when I have bad rashes anywhere on the skin, I will use it more often. As I get better, I will use less. And when I have no more fire, no more redness, I stop using it. And I go into the prevention phase. How can I prevent the next episode from coming very frequently? And that's where the moisturizer part comes in to actually do the prevention part. And at the same time, I must make sure I don't use harsh soaps, anything that actually damages my skin even more, and even like cosmetics, things I apply for myself on the face, I will be very aware, cautious, not to use anything that actually can penetrate into my skin because I got eczema. Other people are fine, but I got eczema, I apply all this. If they have lots of plant ingredients, botanicals or other ingredients, it can actually go into my skin and trigger it off. So I think these are the various ways for us to manage the problem and try to prevent the problem.
Does that answer? I hope that answers some of your questions. Okay, I hope that it gets better for you as well. I'm sure there is a struggle sometimes, and we really feel you regarding that. Thank you for your question. I think we have time for one last one. The lady in the red T-shirt earlier.
Oh. I need to show you the picture.
Oh, okay, okay. Doctor, do you mind?
No,
is it okay?
No issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can try and verbalize
Sure, can.
the picture that she's mentioning to you, that she's showing you.
Yes. I think, Madam, would you like to say what's the issue?
No, because this one that you see,
Yeah.
whole body, actually beginning is from the finger.
Yes.
Then after go to stomach, then whole body like that. You see, all rashes, so scary.
Yeah, so I think these are actually different types of rashes. So these are actually, are they itchy for you? Very
Itchy.
Not me, my friend.
Your friend, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are actually a different type of problem that we are talking about now. It's not really the eczema. So this is a more medical issues
Complex.
that actually, complex problem that we probably will have to take a piece of skin and then use stronger medicine kind of thing. So you definitely she has to see a dermatologist for this kind of problem. Yeah.
Okay, it's better if she goes to see a doctor in person. Okay, yeah, please advise your friend to do that for sure. Okay, so I think we've come to the end. No more audience questions, I'm quite sure. Okay, one last one. Then we actually have 3 questions for you to give out some goodies. Okay, very quickly, what is your question?
可以讲华语哦。
可以，没问题。
因为我有时会感觉那个腿很会流汗，是需要看医生吗？来，很会流汗。
腿而已啊。
正常的嘛。
腿而已。
这边是热。
Okay.
才会流汗。
Yeah. This lady was asking, madam was asking about sweatiness. So that's another of my interests on the sweatiness. So this sweatiness is actually a common problem. The main issues about sweatiness is inability to sweat, where people actually get heat stroke and die. Okay, so that is my main problem I have to tackle. For excessive sweatiness, that's another issue, especially at certain locations. Most of the time is palms and soles, and some people on the armpit, on the face. And so we actually have different strategies to actually deal with this problem. It's more a social problem rather than a serious medical problem. But nevertheless, we understand that this can actually inhibit a lot of people with their socializing and at work, and so we actually do have to address that, and we try to use non-tablets. We try to use things that we can apply from the surface of the skin. For example, using electricity to get the medicine in, or using spray for the armpit, things like that to actually reduce the sweating. So in short, sweating too much is not something dangerous most of the time. Not to worry too much. It's more that how can we help you to improve your symptoms.
Okay, I think you might have to translate that to her in Mandarin later on, possibly. But 她就是说不是那么严重。Yeah, you don't have to be too concerned about it, but if it really affects your confidence and also social related activities, you should definitely see a doctor as well. Okay, so now I'm going to pick 3 audience members to answer some questions. We actually have some goodie bags that are worth more than $60 for you, and it could be containing some products that are very useful for you as well. So the first question is, name one way to manage eczema. Anybody? Maybe someone from the back? Yeah, okay. Oh, we've got a producer here actually who is speaking. Yes. Would you like to answer? Let's get a microphone to him, please. Okay, the question is, name one way to manage eczema.
To have more intake of fibers and fruits. To have more fruits and fibers.
Okay, that's one way. Not the most important way. But it can help. Yeah.
Okay, so would you accept that as an answer?
Yeah, I would say, okay, yes, keep yourself healthy.
Okay, thank you for trying. That is not the most important way, but a good diet could also help support our immune system, so maybe that's related in some way. Okay, the second question is, how do we prevent a flare-up? Name any one way. Perhaps our producer will be going around to pick. Producer? Yeah? Okay.
Moisturize yourself frequently.
Yes, that's
Okay,
right.
that's a good one. Thank you so much. Hopefully, she might find the goodie bag useful as well. Okay, the last question that we have here, pretty simple. How can you tell if the product is good or suitable for someone with eczema? Anybody? How can you tell if the product is suitable for someone with eczema? Our producer's coming around.
You try and test it. If it is suit your eczema become better, then it suits your skin type.
So are you saying like maybe a patch test or to test if it's okay for your skin? Would you say that?
Yeah, so I think, yes, I think general is true. Yeah, you should test on some parts or a new product, you best to test on some part of the skin first, and then if it's suitable, and then you can use more and more. Yes, I think, yeah, that is true, yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, she can have a goodie bag as well. But of course, always read the labels before you apply anything on your skin. I think that's the most important. If you're unsure, please consult a medical professional as well. Thank you so much for your questions, and I hope that your burning questions were answered as well. We had a very, very awesome doctor on stage with us here today. Prof. Tay, please give him a big round of applause for spending his Sunday evening with us. If you have any other follow-up questions, I'm sure you can scan the QR code if you're listening or watching from home right now. Prof. Tay, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
We'll definitely be seeing you again soon, maybe on other programs. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.